All right, everyone, we have some big news coming out of Kings Island today, as it was announced their Aero Custom Looper Vortex will be coming down at the end of 2019 after 33 seasons of operation. And fans have been taking it hard. I do understand the reaction, and I know this ride was important to a lot of people, so this is definitely one of the sadder pieces of news to come out about the park in quite some time. Personally, this is something I felt was coming in the near future, but I have to admit, I was just as surprised as anyone else to hear this news coming out today. Over the 2019 season, I have seen a lot of speculation about whether another ride would be coming down at the end of the year or not, but I really didn't think Cedar Fair would want to follow up a big announcement like Orion with news that another coaster would be leaving the park for the second year in a row. And all this has me really wondering about the nature of the circumstances leading to Vortex's closure. The park has really given us nothing aside from the industry standard, "This ride has reached the end of its service life" quote, which doesn't mean a lot and doesn't really tell you much other than they've decided to close it. What I really want to know is whether or not this was part of a long-term plan KI has had in place, or whether this decision was made because of some kind of maintenance issue. They've recently discovered that Cedar Fair decided they'd rather remove the ride than pay for. In any case, there are a lot of Vortex fans that I know will be really missing this ride, and this is definitely going to make 2020 a bit of a bittersweet season, I think, for a lot of people. So I really had thought I had a pretty good feel for where I believed the park would be headed over the next 5 years or so, and in fact had a video planned going over my predictions for that time period. I'm really glad I didn't make that video yet, because this could potentially change everything. I think we could now be looking at yet another coaster edition as soon as 2021. Now, I have seen some hand-wringing online over whether or not the park will be replacing Vortex anytime soon, with some even expressing anxiety that it won't be replaced at all. While I wouldn't bet the farm on seeing something new in 2021, I feel very confident that something will be built in the space Vortex occupies in the near future. If you think about the location of Vortex, I really can't see Cedar Fair wanting to leave that space empty for very long at all. The location is just so exposed and would be an absolute eyesore as just an empty plot. Not to mention, it really is a great spot for a coaster, visually speaking. So the only questions as far as I'm concerned are, what are they building there? And when are they building it? Now, I guess I should preface everything here by saying it's absolutely possible they could build something other than a coaster here. Some have speculated some kind of park expansion, and it's certainly possible they could build a flat or two in this area, but I personally would be very surprised if they built anything other than a coaster. I feel like that area would need a lot of work to be able to accommodate a park expansion, and I suppose there are some flats that could fit there, but I just think that putting the next coaster they build in this spot makes the most sense. Moving on, when you look at this part of the park, it's perfectly suited for a showy, photogenic coaster, the kind of thing people like to stop and look at, and that's what I think they'll put there. First thing that comes to mind for me would be a B&M dive or wing coaster. I'd love to be wrong about that, but if they were going to build something like that, I think this would be a really good spot to do it. Now, I'd love to see them put in something from RMC, as I also think that would look great, as well as soothe the blow a bit for KI fans who are really sad to see Vortex go, and I'm sure the park is aware that a ground-up RMC coaster is very high up on fans' wish list. Who knows, though? It really could be anything, but in my opinion, people really shouldn't worry about Vortex's plot being unoccupied for very long. Vortex is one of the most iconic coasters in the park, and they have to know this news is going to be a bit hard for fans to take, so I just have a hard time imagining too much time passing here without anything at all happening. Only time will tell, but that's my take on it. real quick here, if you're enjoying this video, please take a moment to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already so you never miss any more content. All right, enough of that. Let's get on with it. So I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction with just the information we have available at the moment, so I'll definitely update this over time. But right now, I'm predicting a B&M dive coaster opening in Vortex's spot by the 2022 season. Cedar Fair has been building quite a few of these, and while I really don't think Kings Island needs any more B&Ms, boy howdy you best believe we gonna get some. If not here, then somewhere else in the park. I wouldn't be surprised exactly if they started work next season to open something in 2021, but at the same time that really kind of just feels off to me. It just seems kind of weird to be opening something big like Orion, but then distracting everyone right out of the gate by starting to build something new. So I really think it'll be like 2022. It could definitely be later. I don't think it'll be much later, but I could definitely see it happening later than 2022 for sure. And of course, there are a lot of coasters other than a B&M dive I could see going well here. I think a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster in the style of the Smiler would work also, for example. But for now, I'm sticking with the B&M dive, and please don't hate me for that. I'm not saying it's what I want, just what I think will probably happen as of right now. So, if I'm being honest, Vortex hasn't been a favorite at Kings Island for me in years. I may be in the minority here, especially among people who've been going to Kings Island for a long time, but over the last couple seasons, I really just haven't enjoyed Vortex all that much. I'll definitely be trying to get my last rides in on it over the next month or so, but for me anyway, Vortex was well past its prime. So this news hasn't hit me quite as hard as it has for some others. If it had been the Bat, on the other hand, I'd be having a pretty bad day today. That being said, I do feel a certain sadness about this. I mean, for one thing, it really is a shame seeing another Aero coaster go down. And it's really going to be weird walking into the park next year and seeing nothing where Vortex has stood my entire life. I remember looking up at those insane-looking loops when I was little, wondering if I'd ever be brave enough to ride Vortex. When I finally did, it felt like a rite of passage. I was terrified of roller coasters as a kid, and every time I went to Kings Island growing up and chickened out on riding Vortex yet again, it bugged me probably a little more than it should have. However you feel about Vortex, it can't be denied that on October 27th, 2019, an important chapter in Kings Island history will end, just as another begins next spring with Orion. Farewell, Vortex. Thanks for the memories, and you will be sorely missed.